Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Chaos, Clarity, and Confidence Finding You Again. I am your host, Victoria, and today's conversation is going to be both a powerful one and a deeply personal one. We get to talk here a lot about how, life throws us into chaos and how, if we let it, the chaos can actually guide us into some incredible moments of clarity and confidence. And my guest today, Brittany, has lived this truth on such a profound level. So her story begins after years of challenges, but it was, her journey with breast implant illness that became her turning point. It forced her to face the physical unraveling of her health and at the same time do the deeper work to accept herself exactly as she is. So through that experience, she discovered clarity about her worth, her body, and her identity. And today, she works to inspire women to give themselves permission to become, both embracing who they are and where they are, and in every season of life with grace and courage. Brittany, I am really excited to have you here today. I'm honored that you've come onto the podcast. So welcome.
Well, thank you for having me. I'm so excited to be here as well. And I just love what you are doing and, you know, allowing women to really embrace the changes and the chaos that come into their life, because it can really define you if you allow it. So, yeah,
Mhm.
I love this.
Amazing. Well, before we really get digging into, where you are now and what you are, how you're helping other women, can you take us back and, take us to those moments where it was the hardest moments, where you talk about those challenges, and then what happened with the breast implant illness that led you to where you are now?
Yeah, so it's kind of a long story. Um, Looking back, I was never probably the healthiest child, never the healthiest teen, um, and had a lot of unworthy feelings that really dictated my path in life.
Mm.
And so when my dad died when I was in my early 20s, and you get inheritance money, and it's like, oh, I'd always said I was going to get breast implants, and so when he died, and then I had this little bit of money, I'm like, oh, I can do something for me, and my dad would have loved me doing something for me. So I got breast implants, and they were the best thing that I'd ever done. Boost your self-confidence. It just makes you feel like a woman because I was just so flat-chested. I mean, ribs, that was it.
Mhm.
And so it boosts your confidence and makes you feel alive and great. And I didn't really think about it at all, for many, many years,
Mhm.
that maybe they could be contributing to some of the things that I was experiencing health-wise. So backing up to me finally realizing that breast implants were part of the contributing factor in my deteriorating health, in my 30s, I ended up having just uncontrolled asthma,
Mhm.
kind of out of the blue, made me start asking the question, why? What is happening? What's causing this? I was able to figure that out eventually after going through all the treatments and tests and no answers. And then a few years later, something equally as rattling happened. I developed severe heart arrhythmias.
Oh, wow. Yeah,
And
that would unrattle for sure.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
it wasn't just like a minor inconvenience.
Mhm.
I was gray. I couldn't hardly function.
Mm.
And the doctors didn't have an answer. And I knew, I mean, I'm now a nurse practitioner. At the time I was a nurse, and I knew if we didn't find an answer that I wasn't going to be alive in a year because I was that sick.
Wow. Wow.
So it really set me up to dig deeper, trying to figure out what was wrong with me.
Hmm.
Um, a friend helped me figure out that piece of the puzzle through a holistic approach. And I got a little bit better with the arrhythmias did go away, but I still had all these lingering symptoms. I had tons of brain fog, joint pain so bad I would get down on the floor and I couldn't figure out how to get up because I
Mhm.
hurt so badly. The fatigue was just totally knock you out. I would
Mhm.
work all day long, push through, and then just come home and crash.
Wow.
And it didn't matter how much I slept. I could never fully recover.
Mhm.
I started breaking out in hives for no reason. And thing after thing after thing. One of the other more severe symptoms I was having, um, I like my brain was not communicating with my lower extremities. I would take steps upstairs and then forget how to take the next 5 steps.
Oh, wow.
And knowing what I knew from a medical standpoint, I knew this was not good.
No, not
You know,
good.
I was, by this time I'm in my late 30s
Yeah.
and I, I know something is seriously wrong with me.
Mhm.
And I'm to a point that I am just desperate crying out for an answer.
Mhm.
And that, I was having hormonal shifts, um, you know, very moody, irritable. I developed hypothyroidism, um, just lots of random things that
Mhm.
they didn't add up. There was nothing definitive from any testing standpoint that could tell me what was wrong.
Mm.
Um, so one day I happened to open up Facebook, and it was probably a God moment that I just happened to see breast implant illness.
Mm.
And I started doing some research, and about the same time, my mom and my aunt also ran across breast implant illness. And I remember one day I was talking to mom, and I'm like, um, I'm I'm wondering if my implants are are part of the problem. At this point, they were 17 years old and I'd never had them replaced.
Mm.
And she's like, well, your aunt and I were talking about it, but we didn't want to alarm you. We didn't want you to like get scared and think, oh, well, this maybe is it. And then what
Yeah.
do you do? What do you do?
Yeah.
So like I said, I did a lot of research. By this time, I was convinced, listening to other women's stories, that their bodies were reacting to their implants and they were having explants, and it was like a night and day difference. I mean, one thing I remember is like women talking about the color of their eyes,
Mhm.
and they finally were white again after explanting. And that was one of the things that I noticed after I did have explant. Like the color of my eye um, went from being kind of yellowish tinge to like bright and white.
Wow.
So I made that decision fairly quickly that I would have my implants removed.
Mhm.
But for me, because part of your identity gets wrapped up in your cup size, which sounds so ridiculous,
Yeah. No,
but it does. Like
it doesn't matter. As a woman, just in general, like whether you have implants or not, it's
that's
so
part of your
true.
identity, part
Yeah.
of your feminism.
Yeah.
And my fear was that if I have these removed and I go back to being flat chested,
Hmm.
like I know this is not going to be good for my psyche at all.
Yeah.
So I found a doctor in Dallas that would do the explant and do a fat transfer at the same time. And so I had enough money to pay out of pocket for this expensive procedure. I'm like, I'm going to Dallas and I'm going to have this done because I cannot wake up and be that 16-year-old version of me again.
Hmm.
Like I can't do that.
Yeah.
Mentally, I won't fare well.
Hmm.
So this gave me some hope, and he was fairly confident that the surgery would go well. And so I made that step. I went to Dallas, had explant and fat transfer at the same time. And we stayed in Dallas for about a week. And within those first 24, 48 hours after surgery,
Hmm.
I woke up clear-headed. I didn't have the joint pain. I mean,
Wow.
yes, I had just had very major surgery and it was
Yeah.
all very painful and
Yeah.
intense.
Yeah.
But that's different than the
Yeah.
deep bone pain that I was having before. The
Wow.
ability to just think clearly.
Yeah.
I mean, the fatigue, even though I was tired from a surgery, was different than the fatigue that I was having prior.
Mhm. That's crazy. Did you have like leakage or were they just that's just
So
the body's reaction to the implant?
it was just my body's reaction to the implants. And my
Wow.
implants were saline. Um, they were whole. They sent me home with them. I did notice once I had a moment just to kind of look at the implants after I got back home
Mhm.
that one of the ports was moldy.
Wow.
So, yeah, I mean, little things. There are some implants that are a lot worse than mine,
Mhm.
or you do have the leakage, or they're silicone. And, what do you do with that sticky mess that does, you can't hardly get it cleaned out once it
Yeah.
ruptures inside.
Hmm.
So I didn't have those things because I had the safe kind of implant,
Hmm.
supposedly. But the shells themselves are toxic. They're full of chemicals.
Wow.
And my immune system was just like time out. Like we cannot deal with this anymore. And
Hmm.
I have two girls, they're 16 and 26. And we've discussed that many times, like, well, maybe if you would have gotten them changed, you know, traded them out at 10 years like you were supposed to, would that have made a difference? I
Hmm.
don't think so. And from what I've read, other women that have done that, the more times that you uh, go through a invasive procedure like that, the stronger your immune system, your immune response can
Hmm.
be. So if you're going to be prone to having breast implant illness,
Hmm.
just rotating implants is probably not going to serve you well.
Hmm.
Um, so yeah, that was it was incredible to wake up clear-headed and well.
Hmm.
But the flip side of the story is the emotional component of that.
Hmm.
So me making the decision to have fat transfer, which I thought was a good thing,
Yeah.
was a good thing until the fat transfer failed.
Oh no.
Yeah. And nobody prepares you for that. I mean, yes, they mentioned that that's a consequence,
Hmm.
but you don't fully grasp that process.
Yeah. Yeah.
So as I'm watching, day by day, breast size shrink, and
Mm.
then realize that I have all of this necrotic fat tissue in my now breasts. And one of them it was the size of an egg. So a very large lump. And when you don't have any breast tissue to begin with, then that's all you have.
Yeah.
I mean, it was so traumatizing to me trying to
Hmm.
figure out my identity with this new body,
Hmm.
being comfortable in my skin, and getting to the point that I have to love me no matter what
Mm.
size of bra I wear.
Yeah.
And that does not make me a woman. I am a woman through and through.
Hmm.
My bra size does not dictate how womanly I am. That does not dictate the kind of heart that I have and the the beautiful things that I can bring to the world. Like
Hmm.
that should not define me
Yeah.
because I have so much to give.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it was quite the process. And even getting the necrotic tissue removed because the surgery was so traumatizing, I couldn't I couldn't schedule another surgery for 3 years to have the necrotic tissue removed. I mean, I was just
Mm.
so utterly traumatized
Yeah.
from the explant and fat transfer
Hmm.
that it took me a long time to be like, okay, it's time to get rid of this.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a whole process working through like that is a very traumatic experience. And you know, I can't imagine having to go from, that mind frame of as a woman, I have breasts and this is what makes me feminine, to then losing that and like you said, having to relearn mentally and emotionally that your feminine is not connected to your bra size.
Yeah.
And so did you find that those 3 years, did you spend a lot of time healing that mental aspect? And
Yes.
yeah, I
Yeah.
would
I
imagine
mean,
that would be quite the
it
process.
it was a horribly difficult process. You don't ever your spouse, my husband was supportive.
Hmm.
But I remember very vividly this one night laying in bed and I'm sobbing and he's like, "Well, it's just different for me." And you want to be loved and accepted, which he loved me and he accepted me.
Hmm.
But to hear that from a broken soul, which I was,
Hmm. Yeah.
that was a form of rejection.
Hmm.
And so I had to do a lot of deep healing, a lot of inner work to realize my value and to heal that unworthiness.
Hmm.
I mean, it's still an ongoing thing, but it's not nearly to the extreme as it was. I mean, I worked with a lot of coaches and healers in the last several years because there's so many layers
Hmm.
of feeling unworthy and just not accepting yourself for who you are.
Yeah.
And that's so sad. But in our society, in social media, like
Hmm.
we have created this monster
Hmm.
of who we think we should be as women.
Hmm. Yes.
And how do you begin to live up to those expectations and that pedestal that we're all supposed to be on? Like how?
Hmm. Yeah, that is so true. I think we do have this, maybe not every woman listening can relate to, the breast implants and
Mhm.
that sort of trauma, but I think every single woman has an experience where they can say something related to their body caused
Yes.
trauma in a way that made them feel unworthy. And
Yes.
whether it's a social media post that you saw that, made you feel like, oh my God, I am like so much fatter than that person and I'm
Yes.
not worthy, or whatever it is.
Yeah.
And so that is so powerful that you're sharing this story, because I know that so many of the women listening have had that moment, have had that trauma moment of feeling unworthy, of going through, maybe even like you said, your partner loves you and supports you and is there for you, but that comment in the moment when you're so broken,
Yeah.
you can't filter it through a confident woman's filter. That is going
No.
through a broken,
It's going through the wounded
yeah,
child.
yeah.
Yeah.
And so as much as you're like, thanks for supporting me, at the same time, you might want to like throat punch a person, right?
Yes.
Because you're like,
Yes.
why would you say that to me?
Yeah.
So I think it's a powerful thing just to have these conversations and to acknowledge that there are those things.
Mhm.
And so powerful. So you're working through all these emotions
Mhm.
and you're healing all this thing. I'm imagining a lot of this was inner child work.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, we do a
Yes.
lot of inner child work in our groups. So
Yes.
yeah, so many moments of inner child work, which is beautiful. But like, how did we end up with all these inner child moments? It's crazy,
I mean, yeah, that's a whole nother
right?
conversation.
That's podcast too.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um, so you've come to a place now where you're able to book that surgery. You were able to take that step for yourself. Did you feel more confident going into that surgery, that second surgery, where were you in a better headspace then?
Yes, I knew I couldn't go through the second surgery, even though that sounded ridiculous, being unable to move something that was necrotic in your body.
Yeah.
Um, I could not go through that until I was in a mental space that I was healthy enough
Hmm.
to undergo the knife again.
Yeah.
And I remember this was maybe 10 days out of that surgery, and I felt new lumps in my breast
Mm.
and absolutely freaked out.
Mm-hmm.
And I called them, and because I was afraid, oh my gosh, like I have more necrotic tissue and we're going to have to do this again. And
Mm-hmm.
so I called the surgeon. I mean, I was just in a panic and bawling.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, they did the ultrasounds and everything was fine. And it was just tissue that it was just inflammation.
Mm-hmm.
And it's fine now. But I, I could not have done that prior to all of the work I had done with being okay with who I was. I mean, I didn't like having big lumps in my chest. That was embarrassing. I couldn't, you can't, I couldn't even comfortably lay on my stomach because the one was so large and uncomfortable. Um, but having them gone was finally like closing the door to that chapter
Mm-hmm.
in the sense that like I am okay with who I am now.
Mm-hmm.
Do I still wish I had, you know, voluptuous breasts and could wear the little outfits that I wore before and look the way that look like a Barbie? Yes, I
Yeah.
still wish I had that, but that's okay that I don't now. And
Mm-hmm.
as women, our bodies change.
Yeah.
They change all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And each change, we have to come to terms with with the change.
Mm-hmm.
Even though there are things that we can do, we can, eat healthier and we can exercise and we can do things like that. But ultimately, it's about our inner viewpoint of ourselves
Mm-hmm.
and loving the change and loving the person that we are becoming as we are evolving,
Mm-hmm.
accepting and loving us because we have gone through so much.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Yes. Yeah, I think it's so important to acknowledge that it can be both, right? We can be mourning that person that we were at the same time celebrating and moving into this new version of us. And
Yes.
I think so many people get caught up in that is like the the looking to the past. Oh, I used to be this. Like for myself, when I hit perimenopause, I put on 40 pounds in like 4 weeks. It was insane.
Oh my gosh.
And I was in that mind frame of like, this is a sudden change to my body. I didn't recognize my body. And I
Mhm.
had to learn to come to that space where I'm finally getting into this space where I can appreciate the body I had before.
Mhm.
And I can also celebrate that this is the phase I'm in right now. And
Yep.
so it's important to do that. And like you said, just to learn to love and accept as we go through these things, because we go through so many big
So
changes.
many
So
changes.
many. Yeah.
And I mean, I work in the functional medicine space. So, looking at root causes and, all the changes that are going on when we hit perimenopause and
Mhm.
menopause and asking the question why. And so many women are doing all the right things, but they're not loving themselves.
Mhm.
And what we have playing in the background of our mind,
Yeah.
it dictates everything that's going on around us. So if
Mhm.
we can't love ourselves, if we can't appreciate who we are and, just embody who we're being and encompassing in the moment,
Mhm. Mhm.
how is that translating to what you're physically experiencing?
Yeah. Yeah. I'm a firm believer that, our subconscious mind is what we see on the outside. So if you're
Mhm.
playing that narrative over and over and over again,
Yep.
beating yourself up in the background, that is what your body is going to manifest as. So
Yep.
it's such a process to learn to love yourself. And I think, we're not set up in a society for women to come through just feeling great and loving themselves. I find especially, like our generation, anyone between like their late 30s and their late 40s, that whole section of us, we were bombarded by some crazy images, growing up, the supermodels that looked like they were on serious drugs
Yep.
24/7. And
Yep.
so it is a lot to transfer that. So now you work with women, right, to help
Yes.
them to do this. Can you talk a bit about that? Like, what does that look like? What kind of work are you doing to help others?
Yeah. So, I mean, I'm looking at root causes, trying to figure out, a lot of women are experiencing the same symptoms, brain fog, fatigue,
Mm-hmm.
lots of digestive complaints, hormone changes, moods, anxiety, just not feeling like themselves in their bodies
Yeah.
and wanting answers. They're not getting answers from their practitioners. Labs are looking fine. So I take those labs and I look at them from optimal angles, and we do functional tests, more in-depth testing, like
Mm.
stool analysis that's going to tell us what's going on in your gut and how is that affecting your hormones and your moods and maybe your skin issues, and breaking down the hormones. How is your body? Do you have enough hormones to begin with? And
Mhm.
how is your body breaking them down? Are they going down the correct pathways for you to even function? Or,
Yeah.
are
Yeah.
what does that look like? So a lot of alternative testing. And then, yeah, I work in group programs. I also have brought on my best friend since kindergarten, who does a lot of inner work.
Mm.
So working with that emotional side as
Yep.
well as the physical
Mhm.
that we're seeing. And that's just a great combination because, like I said, you can't physically heal if you're not willing to do the inner work as well.
Yeah, that is so true. We focus a lot on that in my program too, because you will get caught somehow in if you haven't addressed the emotional, the inner work, you will get
Mhm.
caught. You'll go back to those old patterns because you don't feel like you're
Yes.
worthy of the time and the investment to nourish your body properly.
Yep.
And so I think that that's amazing. And I love too that, you mentioned where you look at the hormones and make sure they're doing what they're supposed to be doing, because how many of us have done panels and
And
been
I look
told,
fine.
oh, they're fine.
Yeah.
They're normal. They're great. And you're thinking, but something is not right and
Mhm.
not normal. So I love that approach that you're looking at, okay, this is what it's supposed to be doing. Is it actually doing it? You may have a good amount of that hormone, but is it going where it's supposed to go, right? Because that
Yeah.
is very vital, a very
Yeah.
vital thing.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Or is your body getting rid of it like it's supposed to?
Right. Are you stockpiling this for a
Yes.
rainy day? Why are you keeping so much of this in your body?
Yep. Exactly.
Yeah, so many things that we don't think about, in conventional medicine, we don't get those answers. So I love that you're taking a more functional approach and helping women on in that way. I think we need more of that. We need
Yeah.
more of the learning how our bodies actually work. I'm an anatomy nerd. I love everything pathophysiology. And so I just love that you're doing this.
Yeah. Well, thank you.
Yeah. Okay, so I don't want to keep you too much longer. I think we could probably have conversation for hours on end.
Yes.
This has been so great. I really appreciate you being here. I appreciate that you brought such a heartfelt, empowering conversation, and I'm thankful that you were willing to come and not only share your challenges, but you're sharing, the grace that you found now on the other side, and that you're helping other women to move through so many of these challenges as well. So before we close, I want you to share with our listeners, how can they find you? Where can they connect with you if they have listened today and they think, oh my gosh, I need to connect with Brittany. She's my girl. How do they get in touch with you?
Yeah. So my website is my name, Brittany Heyden. And I'm on all social platforms, Instagram, Facebook, um, LinkedIn, TikTok, a little bit of everywhere. So yeah.
Okay, perfect. I will make sure, guys, that all of her contact is in the show notes so that you can just click and go and find her. And I hope that you, as a listener, has taken as much from today's episode as I have. Honestly, thank you, Brittany, for sharing your journey and reminding us that our bodies are, they're worth the investment. Um,
Yeah.
Not to question what's going on, but to listen and to really, let our bodies talk to us. And so, listeners, if this episode has spoke to you, please make sure to share it with a friend who might also need these reminders today. And don't forget to subscribe so that you don't miss our future episodes on chaos, clarity, and confidence. Is there anything you'd like to share before we close out, Brittany?
I just want to thank you again for having me, and I appreciate it.
Amazing. Anytime. I'd love to do this again. So
Yes.
until next time, guys, make sure that you are subscribed and we will talk again soon.